My name is Andy Pape. I'm the composer of the opera Other Buildings. One of my important goals with writing this opera was to try and write an opera that was in our time. The question is, how do you do that? And there is no answer to that question. But the opera was written as an example of what I feel could be a contemporary opera. Contemporary meaning in our time. Another thing that I have worked with is to try and find a way, a bridge between opera and musical. When I write an opera, I always try to figure out what music is this story asking for. Classically, you would be told never mix things, and that's not something that I abide by.
My name is Rasmus, Zwicki, and I wrote the libretto for Other Buildings. The opera Other Buildings revolves around Senza, the main character, who finds herself in a world which basically is just one building. And we learn that she had a passionate relationship with this man who's now no longer there. And the opera starts when she starts searching for him. Right from the point where Senza starts exploring this building in which she's living, she starts figuring out things about how the building is working, and her world starts deteriorating. What Senza discovers at the end of the opera is that this man that she's been passionately searching for was actually not with her for the same amorous reasons, and that he has been an informant on the suspicious behavior that she has had.
Everything turns out bad. The heroine does not have a happy ending. Building 2 is definitely not a nice place. But it is a tragedy where you will see and hear the audience laughing a lot of the time. Now, I wouldn't even call it a comical tragedy, but there are elements in it that are comical. So if the comedy is calling for a musical number, I'll put that in. If the tragedy is calling for a modernistic expression, I'll put that in. But of course, it's important that all of this is bound together by some kind of unity that makes a total feel of the music. So the music is held by me through 4 different modi, and these go through the whole score. It doesn't matter what kind of music is going on. The singers are mic'd up, and we can change the way they sound. All the instruments are mic'd up. We can change the way they sound. There are a lot of sampled instruments, also constructed sampled instruments. I have not had a negative response to the way that we did the sound. Everybody's comment was, first of all, it was so easy to understand because we could balance the singers and the orchestra so that you could understand what they were singing. That's just a practical thing. But we could do other things with the sound that are very unoperatical in that we almost kind of went over to film sound where we could have surround sound and giving them the idea that they were in Building 2. Building 2 wasn't just in front of them. They were sucked into the opera, sucked into the story, into the building. They were a part of Building 2. And I have very, very seldomly heard people say that about a drama, that they were just kind of pulled into it. They were the people on the stage.
This opera has both some of the good things of conventional opera, but also a couple of new approaches. It managed to build its own universe, and it managed to tell a story that was actually a bit more complex than many librettos traditionally do.
What really made me happy was when looking out on the audience, I could see people from 17 years old to 90 years old. And really, not just two 17-year-olds, a whole row of them, which was amazing because usually you don't have time to open up an opera. It's like performed 8 times and that's it. So you don't have time to tell the audience, hey, we got something here that, but somehow the word spread.
I imagine that this theme and story is quite well suited for an international audience.
Because it's a human situation to be encompassed by some kind of construction that limits your life. And all human nature strives to figure out, is there any other way of doing things? Because many of these buildings are often repressive. They are often governed by a small number of people who misuse their power.
Many people were quite devastated from experiencing the end of the tale. Even though this is a quite abstract story in an abstract building, they sort of related to the themes of control and the themes of privacy.
The critics were ecstatic. Usually when you, especially at my age, when I've done so many of these things, you kind of on beforehand say, they're going to find something wrong with this. And what really bowled us over was that there was nothing wrong with it. They loved it. And, you know, we won the best opera of the year for it. So it worked really well.